from the 11th of the second month of 1441. Knight of Coins, reversed, uses inappropriate language. But to give up now would be like giving a pig your laurels. Ace of Cups, reversed, pursues misfortune no longer, but moves till he topples his bowls. We have to be willing to have different results than we want when looking at polls. And what 8 justice reversed doles. Avoid mere contention as you steady your hands between social and mental roles. "11, strength reversed, mocks stability and the natural, but ignorance is about to fling him to one of the nearby holes. 18, the moon reversed, does not regard all lands as his hands place the macrocosm as if it is a microcosm he controls, but he follows his friend out into a collective world despite its tolls. 5 of Staves, dismisses the haters for the sake of their souls. And I am here with Lzwvmmh znz.
That's right, baby. That's me.
So,
Mr. Alien here.
particularly some of what's been going on with your life, I presume that maybe this time you may even have more to say about that poem.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. My life is. I'm still the kind of armchair kind of meme magician nowadays. I mean, I haven't progressed very much in that, but I'm still keeping my curiosity intact to do these videos and to learn, you know. And that's how you know. It's not the most important thing. It's not what I know, but what I can learn with a curious mind, and you know. So let's explore this tarot stuff here. It's very interesting.
And the person in particular, you know, that I started doing this with, you know, because you see here, you know, 14 years ago.
Oh, who's that beauty?
14 years. Well, it's a woman I could have married if she
okay.
If she didn't have a certain degree of issues that were, well, at the very least, legal or not, being would have, you know, areas that's ready for. But she sent me that. She sent me this.
Oh, what's this?
And this is one of the things that she
Art is our only salvation from the horror of our existence. Oh, tell me about that one.
So when we define the term magic, so like here I have
yeah, that one.
I have to remind about my channel glyph. On the right, that extends to have 5 little points. So the but these are two on each side are something from my dreams, and I color coded it very specifically for meaning here. But one experience, the state of absolute righteousness, and the other undefiled knowledge, are called in Enochian Yod Namad. So when you hear that, when you hear me say those Enochian chants, Yod Namad, that's what I mean. but this isn't that's not that's my own experience. These glyphs were both with Enochian, what you call Enochian magic.
Wow.
But the so the one on the right is the consciousness. So that's the consciousness. Well, I mean, on the left is the consciousness, and on the right is the deeds. So in magic, you have science. So science in this case is on the left, and you have art would be on the right.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
So you've got to have that. You got to have that art. It's not just, here's some ideas and you put your.
You gotta have some.
How's that song go? Gotcha. Welcome to Machine. I don't know if that's the right tone, but you know what I mean. Pink Floyd. I mean, our bodies are vehicles, but just like that Gnostic view. The real Gnostic view is that these things aren't it for itself. Even the mind isn't per se it for itself. You got something, but you're going beyond this stuff for itself.
Okay. All right.
So one of the things, let's I guess straight up back to the cards that we've gone. One thing that I see that you've very particularly had to deal with over the years is this. There's definitely people who pull you along with it. I'm not saying that. I can tell the comments on my channel that mention that on some of my stuff that have mentioned you are people who don't want to talk to me because I've talked to you. That why they want conflict for itself rather than conflict with a purpose and a meaning. They want conflict for itself. Like
they don't have curiosity. They don't want to learn.
It's like one of the things. In my one graphic. That I say real politics. One of the things known by those blue stripes in particular is that it's not that they're being different just to be different. It's like I'm going to wear. It's like I'm going to wear clothes from.
It's like the rebellion, the fake rebellion, the emo rebellion, right?
It's supposed to be the righteous rebellion where you're so different from the so-called Gentiles.
Righteous rebellion. That's the word.
Which is. Gentile doesn't mean they're of a different nation. Gentile is they're insulting you. They're saying they're saying you're without guidance. I mean, if you translate the words from Aramea and Hebrew that they're using, well, Hebrew is a derivation from Hebrew is not the biblical language. It's a twist from that language. So for some reason, a lot of the terms they feminized. Really, they feminized the terms. So they added the female ending to words that didn't have a female ending. When they made it Hebrew.
They did?
And there are other twists that they made on stuff. They call people by names that are different from their thing. Something about Judaism decided they needed to change language to have a certain effect, and they very successfully did that. People don't even.
That's interesting.
People don't even know that they changed the languages that they were using.
They did that. Wow, cool. Interesting.
So they changed it to have an effect. They changed it to undo the culture that, for example, use this script. So instead of those regular square letters, everything was like a more living letter. You had the back. You had the back of the head. You had an ox head. I mean, you don't have all this in this graphic, but in this graphic, you got teeth. Instead of this thing that looks like a flower or something, you got teeth. You got a seed sprouting forth. You got a hand with an arm rather than just some twist of the thing.
Exactly.
Now it's harder to draw this alphabet, mind you, but it's a living alphabet that predates Judaism by a couple thousand years.
Wow.
So
that's interesting.
There's a reason in my own spiritual workings. Like if I do if I was to redraw this or something. If I was to do a piece of art, I wouldn't do it with the Hebrew letters. I'd do it with the Aramea letters. And you notice in my art. In my number art, I include I don't do the Hebrew letters. I do the ancient Aramea letters that predate the even calling it. Before anybody even mentioned a tribe of Israel, as far as anybody knows, these letters existed. And so I use that alphabet. It has a more ancient root. There's a variation. It makes the meaning of it more easy. If a person's going to do all these Kabbalistic games or something, the meaning of using sacred alphabets, that has something by itself. Like that thing we saw there. If we look at, see that letter in brown there, was my finger. I can't really point to it. Well, one of the letters with brown, not the one that looks like a house, but the one with a circle and a line across it. We have the moon.
Oh, you're talking on the card now?
Yeah, we have the moon card there.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So the moon card is that card, and you really see that in this card. So the compass and the square. In astrology, the compass and the square are the microcosm and the macrocosm. So I address that in this. So the sorcerer or the magician or whatever you're going to call the spiritual worker, whatever side they're taking, they got to work within themselves and they got to work outside the self. But they're doing it at an outside view. I told you about 3 things that I got to you amongst the main thing that was the whole point of sending what I sent you.
Sure.
3 things. The one is a representation of the self. I mean, it's one way to use it is you have the one, and then you have the other, and then you have the other. So like this card, the guy's operating. You're not an angel, you're not a demon, you're not becoming either of those things. You're a human living your whatever role you're as a separate spiritual being, but you're having your own experience with it, and you're guiding your own experiences, which is shown by the style of the one thing in that you could say is championing your own thing. And I wouldn't per se, I relate it more to that Empress card, but I did a ceremony. If you look on my eclipse list, I try whether it's a solar or lunar eclipse. A lot of the time, most of the time nowadays, I will come up with some meaning. That's the thing about real astrology. It's not you've read it from a book and I read the wrong column. It's like it's vague. It's supposed to you're supposed to be engaged with the meaning of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that makes it a lot more interesting.
So the meaning that I want to, it's like in a way you're constrained by shuffling a deck of cards or looking at the sky or something, and here's the symbols that you're working with, but it goes into something else. So and what else it goes into is your own experience, your own thought, and that's where it's driving from. So I have I had 2 flags in that video, and I made 2 flags for the solar eclipse. Probably the only solar eclipse I'm ever going to see a full solar eclipse. I saw a partial one back in the 80s when I was a kid. When I was a pre-adolescent back in the 80s.
That was a long time
I was born in the 80s, so back in the 80s I saw an eclipse in California.
Oh, you did?
You had these little reflected boxes, and you look at the shadow and you see, it's forming. The sun has the moon covering it and blocking some of its view, because he didn't want to look directly at it, and he didn't want everybody in the family to go out and spend $10 for glasses. That was, so you figure out a way to look at the shadows. Now, some people look around in the shadows of trees and stuff like this, but. So we all made this box. We lived in a cul-de-sac in a city and all that stuff. And I mean, I don't want to narrow it down because I don't want people figuring, if you've lived in this city, then now I know exactly which one by your name is this. So, but anyways, but this time around, there was a total eclipse. It was awesome. It was like, it's hard. The video is not as clear. For some reason, the phones have set themselves that they want the professionals that are getting paid to do the best photos. So they have this altered stuff. So the coloring, it's like if the sky's orange from a forest fire, you want a picture of the orange, right? You may not get that on your phone. Your phone auto adjusts that away, and there may be nothing you can do about it.
Oh yeah, good analogy. Yeah.
But so you don't see it too well, but you do see there's a dark spot over the sun. It's almost like you're looking at the moon. but there's a dark spot, you know, over the sun, and you see the little wavy thing around it. You don't see it too well in the photo. You don't see too well. You can tell what's going on, but you may have to be told that it's an eclipse. From every direction, it's like looking at the sunset. When you're in the middle of a total eclipse for those 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or whatever it is, 3 minutes, it's like there's a sunset in every direction. And the electricity is different for like up to a week and to a certain degree, but you really feel it when it's going on.
It is?
When you start to, when the couple hours before the total eclipse that you see the partial eclipse, you see the shadows change. Shadows get the fuzziness of shadows. It starts to, it's like you turn up the contrast of reality, and the shadows get more sharp.
That's fucking interesting. Shit.
Like things are more straight lined in terms of the shadows and the reflections and stuff like this.
That's cool.
But I sent you one of my 2 flags that I brought out for that occasion. So I got a chant, you know, I got a chant for the occasion, and I went out there and I did what I was gonna do with that. And
thanks, man.
So it's a remnant of that. I kept one for myself and sent the one there. So I've kept that little flag. These
thanks, man.
These almost 4 years.
Thanks
for that. And I share my experience. I had an experience. It was harder because somebody was getting like, you know, stop your praying and get it. It's like I see what's going on. I'm involved. So my video actually would have been longer if I didn't know that you could that you could pause the video on the phone and that sort of thing in the middle. I wasn't used to using that function, but it was already interrupted at that point, and I don't feel like spending 5 hours to edit a video. I'll start over.
No, you don't want to do that. That's not fun to do.
And I don't think I don't know if I could get any more views whatsoever, but I'm gonna go. But so another card with a letter. Well, I guess we got different cards with the letter to it. So you got a line with a cross over it, so representing a basket. So the justice, or you know, some say the
interesting. What's in the basket?
So with this deck, it's less about attributes and more about the story, which makes it a good thing, and it's perspective from full. It's zooming in and out there, but you have the basket card here. The letter that a person could refer to in ancient times was the basket or the jar or something like this. So it's a storage. But you got the justice card. So the guy is the full card is actually trying to blind the justice thing. Now that's the thing that I don't justice disregards. I hear this a lot. It's like, hey, if it's right or wrong, true or whatever, it's it's not my relationship to you. Thank you very much. I'm going to make the it's like that. It's like I want to make the judgment. If you're asking me what I think is true or whatnot, that's what I'm going to make. So it's not that justice is blind. Justice is aware. You're aware of the situation. You're not like, because a blind justice would be just going along with whatever your family or society decides.
Exactly.
And you're just whatever. And maybe that's the thing. The agent of society is coming in to blind the woman, but arming her. So she's feeling and reacting, but she's not letting herself perceive other than just her feeling. Because if you feel without thinking, it's so much easier to mislead yourself than if you employ your different parts.
Wow, that is so interesting.
Like
wow.
Keep losing this a bit there, but feel free to interject at any time. But see this chart, which is kind of the colors zoom, kind of changes the color, kind of makes the colors not as dramatic. But with this chart, a lot of people, one thing that autistic people tend to be better able to do is because we have one, it's increased sensitivity. And otherwise we have more we have more neurochemicals. The other way to define autism is you have more neurochemicals. So it gives you strengths. It gives a person strengths when it comes to light, sound, and social situations, but it doesn't exactly do for you what society per se wants you to do for it. Like in this card here. Oh, we're having pretty good in this card. See the guy's climbing up on top of her. No, the autistic justice guy be taking off the blindfold because it's like, hey, I'm more. I have even more awareness than usual, so I'm going to use my awareness. Or autistic woman. I mean, real autistic rather than people who use it as an insult.
Exactly. Real,
but you're reading the different planes. Now, do I think that if you see orange, you're on the causal plane? That's a stupid way to look at meditating and seeing light and stuff like this. And it's a way that you can symbolize stuff, and you're kind of but as long as I picture that I'm bathed in white light and then I'm protected. It's like no, that's not how that works. Wow. So I think that's perhaps the confusion that was in our discussion yesterday was that no, I'm not picturing white light because I'm like I'm on the right side because I can picture white light and all this stuff and
exactly.
or Norma like where's the graphic? You have these different levels of yourself, and one of the things that see this are the remaining only psychological. So most of this chart, even though they talk about,
sorry, what'd you say?
It says are the remaining only psychological. So you have a physical realm, which is kind of hidden off the edge of the picture here. And then you have the different psychic realms, and then you have a spiritual. Then you maybe get into the pure spiritual realms. But you're operating. You're a spiritual being, whether you're aware of only the physical, whether you're aware of the mental different realms. But it's not that your thoughts and your emotions and your memory and your intuition are on different levels. That's nonsense.
That's nonsense.
They're part of the same body. I had an experience. I had an experience on Multnomah Falls in Oregon. After that, there were times when I went back and forth, but after that, I was never a Christian ever again. Not for a moment. No worshiping no worshiping angels. None of that ever happened after that point. No worshiping saints of any sort whatsoever.
Shit.
So after that point, but I had that experience. I had an experience that happened on those different levels, and like the strength card here, the strength card. So this is the shepherd's crook. If you look in the ancient pre-Jewish alphabet of the area that they took over, there was a shepherd's crook, and that was the letter for that was their letter L. Okay. And so the shepherd crook, like the strength card, is rather being led along by ignorance or a donkey carrying books and not understanding the books, because it's one thing to carry. It's like as I said with the last program, if you find out one use. If you can figure out how to use one verse, you're doing as good as if you read the whole book. And so these people who've memorized, it's like I met a guy in Washington who memorized the Quran, but he couldn't find a passage of the Quran. If you paraphrase the meaning, he couldn't figure out where the passage was. So he memorized this whole book and couldn't even figure out how to. He couldn't figure out. If you ask him which chapter and which verse and that sort of thing, he could figure. He could quote it. You could pick up the book and read it, and he'd do it exactly the entire thing. But could he? He didn't seem to. He didn't seem to understand it. There's value to that, but not as much value as being the person.
You have to understand too.
Lives the thing. I met a couple of people from like Sudan or Nigeria or something like this. They memorized the Quran when they were kids, but they didn't learn Arabic. So it was a big old book of music. And so I met them. I met them in I think I met them in Portland, Oregon. And these couple of people, they said when they got to America, they just said, their spirituality was more important than just something memorized to them, and so they decided they're going to learn. They're going to actually learn what these words they're saying meant. So they sought out and they learned how to understand the whole thing.
Wow.
And that's of course a lot better than now. The musical value has its thing. Certainly has its value. But there's more. You want to be able to go with it than that. And so the guy's not too sturdy on the donkey.
Okay.
He's obviously not set apart like the people who have their firm position up on the hill, and all that other stuff. But you can take charge of your knowledge. And so three cards left on this one here, but you can experience on different levels at all times. You can switch between them, but that's also another thing that they say autistic people are better at doing, is that you can switch between the levels. Now, I don't know what I was saying, that like for example, the people who visualize one color of light or another, but what about those here, Dantalion, that on the bottom right of the screen, that first, not the bottom right, but the one next to it. That's the sigil of Dantalion. And I've done workings regarding all these, but not that I've regarding the same subjects. That's the thing. I regard the same. I address the same subjects, and I call myself in the same subjects. I'm not going about, I've made pacts with more demons than you. No, that's not what my channel is about. But
that reminds me of someone.
To show how ridiculous some of these credit for visualizations thing. There's skill in visualization. There's value to visualization. I'm not denying that in the least. Dantalion is supposed to be a spirit that basically is like super pornography spirit.
Wow, really?
It's supposed to help people witness just all sorts of nudity and all sorts of other stuff like they can't all sorts of nudity and whatever deprived sex act you want to see. Maybe well, the internet's watched. So if you're people think I can just go on the dark web. No, the government, the U.S. State Department is watching the dark web. They they do. Look up Al Gore. Al Gore helped set up the dark web. He may have been elected president back in 2000. It's questionable whether he was president-elect or whether it was just closer. But the very fact of the matter is, no, he wasn't an anti-vaxxer and all these other things. People think, oh, if Al Gore was only president instead of Bush, we wouldn't have went to war and the environment would have been better. You really think that?
No.
Just after witnessing what happened with the last guy, the last president, pretty much everything good he ever had to do, they fought him on it. I mean, he wasn't a perfect leader or anything like that, but let's be real. If
they're equally corrupt, all of them.
I don't know about equally corrupt.
They're not elected; they're selected.
He was the only that was the thing. He stepped forward and ran for office rather than the Democrats or the Republicans saying that, hey, how about you start running for office? He did it all on his own, and they got really angry at him. All of a sudden, all these people's like, oh, this guy is boisterous and he's entertaining and he's like a rap star, but he actually
like a rap star
business. And he's a partier, but he's not a drunk. The guy could party, but he wasn't a drunk.
It's like Trump can party too. And he used
but so there's that sort of thing. But he ran contrary to I might as well put a Trump meme on the thing while we're
there he is.
But he
doing some dance moves.
His presidency did stuff that other presidencies didn't. My entire my father's entire life, you see what was done. He's in some ways he did more for the workers and stuff, like more for the environment than any president in 70 years. And it's like, really, a billionaire with 500 companies comes in and he's the most environmental president since Roosevelt. That's ridiculous. That makes the whole rest of them look really bad by comparison. They should have found a better guy. They should have found a better guy. That's what I'm saying. So,
okay.
But the wage increase between 1965 and 2016 was $1 a week on average. The first year he was in office, it increased $15 a week. The welfare for the rich portion of the government spending was over 80%. He lowered it. He was the first guy in over 70 years to lower the percentage of taxes for the rich.
Wow.
He was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So,
remember, Oh, yeah.
So as much as there was, and he wasn't politically correct. If you're going to be a president, you got to be politically correct.
Yeah, and he was not politically correct. Yeah, exactly. No,
like Joe Biden, they didn't let him be president because he had to be basically so decrepit that he's basically like retarded now. Now he's okay to be president because he's not he can't.
It's all calculated.
Back in 1988, when he ran against. I mean, he wasn't the main candidate. He didn't make it up to the top. He was one of those ones running on the side. And people didn't expect Biden to make it this time around. But they cheated. Sanders probably could have won. But they changed in several states. In the state I am in, they switched most of the locations that they thought were going to go towards Sanders in the primary at the last minute. So if you showed up to vote where you thought you were going to vote, they had changed location, and if you didn't feel like driving another mile or two to somewhere else, you didn't vote.
What? Wow.
So
are you joking?
They changed like 30-something locations in the last week.
That's crazy shit. It's all calculated, orchestrated.
So, and they didn't, and it's not like you got an announcement in the mail or the paper or something like this that the locations were changed. And some people are living on the. Honestly, when you retire, that's welfare. Unless you have a 401 account or some other savings account and you're retiring early or something like this, don't act like the Social Security is welfare. People need to stop pretending that that they're superior to the people who are poor and are disabled because they're collecting different welfare. It's welfare, whatever, and it's there for people who need it, not for people that are like, I have a. Okay, write your novel at night and on the weekends. The state shouldn't have to spend $2,000-$3,000 just because you like to, you have some fantasies to write down. That's ridiculous. But they waited. This is all stuff this guy said. This is all stuff this guy said. This is you'll find the clips right down to what I said early, and I'm gonna pause it for a second to tell you something that that YouTube may decide to put an 18 as I mentioned something he quoted. As could be said there, okay,
so which card are we at now?
So we're looking at the Ace of Cups. So the issues we were talking about were sort of like the cup is it, rather than the cup is, again, the tool. The person has their emotions, and the crown's hanging above.
The
Knight of Cups, I guess, was was what we were going over last time. So the Knight of Cups, the Knight of Cups would have been like would have been like a Gemini. But the King of Cups would have been like Aquarius. So you're crowned with it though.
Oh, interesting.
So this guy, instead of just a plain old cup, that's just that's an abstract thing. This guy is active in his emotions. This guy is fully immersed in his emotions, his thought, the spirit of the matter.
That's why it's in the cup.
So that the cups are the experience. And that's the other thing that's the other thing I gave the painting that sort of occupies the whole space of the package, you could say, is the pips of the things. So I have a sheet that represents water, and I have arrangements of cups.
Wow.
And I have astrological things on the side for that, but that's the main thing.
Is he alone in that cup, or are the two people in there?
He's alone in the cup. It's not the
Okay.
in the Goetia, there's like the one symbol. There's a symbol in the middle of there. Where is it? Okay, the third row. You know, if you count the bottom row, bottom. Oh, you can't really point my location. I was so hoping the computer would let me.
Okay.
But so you take the bottom row, and you go to two row. Say that's row 1, and then you have the other row, and so you go 3 more over. So 4, number 4 from the left is there's a cup. There's a cup.
I see that now. Yeah.
There's a cup there. The stuff flowing out. One of the Christians, although they tend not to follow that stuff nowadays because it's some of them do, but as a rule, you can't decide what Christian modesty or whatnot just based on encounter Christians. That graphic that we had that I was pointing to, there was the Christians would have their own baths made. Because they didn't want to get naked in front of a whole crowd like a typical Roman or Greek person. They wanted to have their own bath and be modest and by themselves, and maybe not be asked to have sex with every other person in the bathhouse. Or I mean, I don't think it was that bad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I got you.
It's like, remember Socrates? Alcibiades, or what was that? What was that guy? Oh, Socrates is such a pious and honest person because it's like no one would ever turn me down. It's like, what if he's not your type of guy, or what if he's straight? What if Socrates was straight? So all the guys that wanted to have sex with Socrates and Socrates saying no, it was like, it wasn't even a temptation for him.
Okay.
I mean, maybe there was money or something that was a temptation, because a lot of people, they will whore themselves out and not really be into what they're whoring themselves out. It's just, you know, they're looking for power or money or whatnot that comes as a result. But this guy is looking at his emotions, and so this guy in this thing, he's by himself. No one's around. In India, it's preferable to take baths by yourselves too. Like yoga isn't to have this big old window. And then they say that us men are perverts. If we see the women, if we see a group of mostly attractive women bending over in tight clothes, we're supposed to look. That's why they dress like that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
They say it's not, but it's you know. Well, some of those women, you may get their number later, but you know, that big old window so people can see.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just to let the light in. It's so people can see that either they're jealous about, oh, look at these people. Real yoga is not just being in sexy clothes and bending over and all sorts of stuff. Yoga is basically one of those words for religion. Now, people don't like the word religion because it gets associated with issues with the church, and maybe people don't like the word yoga or tantra because of some of the things it's associated with. But it's really about a spiritual relationship that evolves. Yoga, you're going out. Tantra is coming in, but it's really both of them. They involve your body. You accept your body. You accept the world. You're making a connection with more than yourself. It's yoga. You connect more than you identify. But really, how can you tell the difference between yoga and tantra? Yoga and tantra both has poses and all sorts of stuff. So, unless you're really into a system. But it's certainly not just breathing and making poses and not knowing what you're saying.
Certainly.
Like with this graphic.
Yeah.
You notice how I filled in the blanks with what all this stuff means?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
This organization had over 80,000 people at some point, and I'm not sure how many people even know what this stuff meant. If they know what it meant, it wasn't because they remembered the group. It's because they knew knew what the word Aum meant, other than just hippies say Om. So no,
exactly.
Aum is the zoom of being. Aum is you're saying yes, you're affirming. It's like a different type of amen.
That's interesting.
It is. Yeah. Who was the word that indicated that you were invoking? You were, and there's different words for things mean different things in different languages, and some of this is a jumble. It's not all Sanskrit and all that, but the point is, you know what it means. And if you know what it means, then instead of having all this whole litany of gods that you're referring to, It can all be the same, or it can all be yourself. It can all be stuff you're doing to yourself, like with when you do a ceremony. You know, when I do a ceremony, I am involving the themes of myself. That doesn't mean I can't be connecting to some transcendent entity, but I'm evoking myself when I mention, you know, like for example, around the vagina symbol in the middle there, you have well, you have the word for civilized man. So Adam is the word for civilized man. So you place largely you place yourself in here. So but see, it's that symbol in the middle, that double moon, like it has the double moon symbolism, but it also has that vagina. So this where the origin and the return, it's all there. Which shocks people. People find out about the Kaaba in Mecca. It's like, those Muslims are praying to a giant vagina. They're not praying to a giant vagina, but they're using the symbolism. Or if you pick up a Quran, most of the Qurans have a little penis to indicate where you prostrate. So it has 14 or 15 penises in every Arabic edition of the Quran.
What the fuck?
So they're symbols that people use.
Without knowing what to be.
Well, that's one of the things too. Is that it's like the Saudis are the biggest producers of the books, and they don't tell what the prayer positions mean or any of that stuff. They're not the ones who produce books that tell you how to relax and experience your prayer. That's, you know, this guy, this guy, he's in the cup. He's having a spiritual experience. The guy with the coin, he's using his matter to be a better performer. A lot of you know, and this 5 of staves. Okay, maybe there's difficulties that you got to work through, but you're working through those difficulties. And if you work through the difficulties, that makes the time where it's not difficult work better. And but a lot of the books. Now, one of the Sunni books completely ignores that. One of the Sunni history writers, Abu Dawood, collected historical narrations and panned them out to try to say what is what and that sort of thing. You know what he did? He said in his book, he's not going to have any of that stuff about that. That's just focused on mystical mysteries, that sort of thing. That stuff occurs, but it's part of the path. But he didn't want his book to be about that. He didn't want his book about how many. If something was better than something else as a matter of doctrine, that's one thing. But he wasn't going to say. He wasn't going to. He didn't make his book about this is. If you pray here, it's worth 1,000 points, and if you pray here, it's worth 100,000 times of praying elsewhere other than those few places. He didn't. He didn't record those narrations. Because people do that. People sit. There are people who sit around and they say this. They say this stuff that they, you know, they sit around and try to count their prayer points rather than just trying to live.
Your prayer points.
Live a life.
Live a life. Yeah, exactly.
You know, the night. I guess the night isn't. Well, the nights of coins. What is the night of coins? So the night of coins is like Sagittarius. I mean, I'm not sure if they depict that in this card, but I guess you are writing something. But you're making a noise, so hunt and war, that sort of thing. I guess I can connect that to that. But these cards are what you can do to what the meaning that you can take with your own.
That's important to note.
Yes, I said it's a way to randomize thinking about life. Like this card, we definitely have. I noticed the time, and I'm going to have to go and take a break here. But and another, but the staves card. So the 5 of staves card. You notice what happens when you appear in a group.
No.
It's like I don't know. Now I wasn't ever out out for, to go rob people, that sort of stuff. You get in the wrong crowd, maybe that will happen. That would have never happened. And I don't know, maybe some of the choices that I make in life prevented certain things. Like, as I was saying, there are people that I decided not to hang out with, that I could have I decided not to do drugs with them. And those who didn't do drugs with them didn't end up robbing people and stuff like that. But everybody who did ended up committing some actual offense that would have been illegal.
Yeah, you mentioned this. Yeah, I remember you mentioned that. Yeah.
And I've noticed other the person I said I'm not going to say say too much unless something comes up when I'm doing a show with her. If I skip one or something, I may have actually been talking to her for this. She's I wonder, I wonder why she liked two particular photo, my hardware store hat, that's like a plunger, but it's orangish, so it's sort of like a fall thing for me. When I go to the gardening or slash hardware store or whatnot, I wear that hat in the fall because it's fall colors, but it's a plunger. So people see as festive for the fall, and then they notice the plunger, and they like the hat even more. So but I like the hat, even if it's just to amuse myself. I like the hat. And that's why I have a certain standard of modesty. I have a certain symbolism that I do with my clothes. I have certain function, and that's it. If other people approve it or other people don't.
Okay. Wow. Interesting.
But one of the things that when you join in with a group, sometimes there become you notice how it's not. They do seem to be working together, but there seems to be not as smoothly as like one person. It's not like a train group that all strikes at the same angle and all that sort of stuff. There's some a little bit of difference that if you look at it closely,
definitely,
you can see. So and obviously these guys are like the one guy has worry on his face, other guys like, how about the other way, but you do try to at least psychologically you do try to involve yourself in, and of course, to remind of the back of the cards, you got the whole suit, you got the wands, the fire, the swords, the air, the discs, I mean the plates, the earth, or coins or whatever.
What's the name of this card?
This is just the back of the deck.
Okay.
So it's a good deck. It's a good deck that it doesn't do that. Now, as you share any closing thoughts or whatnot, but
sure.
But the one person whose picture I showed, if that person if she stays off cigarettes and everything, she stays out of jail. And she doesn't it's not just buying illegal drugs or something like this. It goes other than that, but I'm not going to get into that. A lot of that's not most of the stuff is not part of public record, but the stuff that is part of public record, if it wasn't for drugs, she would have never committed that or other crimes. If she wasn't like, I'm going to huff stuff and smoke, that's going to lead to other stuff. And this deck, but some people can indulge and not, but so, and I definitely don't, I'm not saying it's the worst of things. So your typical, you got the Celtic cross sort of spread sort of thing going on with this, that they put a card and they have a card to the side, and then they have a card before and to the left side, and then closer to you, and then to that side. And then they have a row that goes from closer to you to further away, and they have 10 cards that way. And it's basically usually the Celtic cross is usually, the current, the immediate, the desire, the basis of it, the influences, the forces, the future, yourself, your environment, the inner state, and the final result. So it forces you to think of, you got a category, and then what if this was in that category? So rather than, oh no, it's going to rule this card is here and it has to, it's like, no, it's what you do with the category that's in the category. That's what arrow spreads kind of do for a person. And then you have a corpse card that goes from the feet to the head. So the feet, the thighs, the groins, the belly, the heart, the head, sort of a chakra arrangement, you can kind of say. So the other reading that you could say, that I did involve this in terms of how I interpreted some of these cards as I go along. Usually I just randomly pick out spreads that I'm going to put symbolism on, and whatever fits in the spread is the card that I'm going to use to talk about that day. I try to, I let myself respond emotionally and mentally to whatever, but I will pick out a particular card, and that is what I'm going to do, or a particular group of cards. Sometimes I don't know how many cards I'm going to pick. It could be 7 cards, it could be 1, and it really just depends. Fits the thing, and I leave it up to chance to say. But you know, again, oh, this card is you know,
I mean, life runs.
I have to get married because because this card is like, well, I'll get married. If I get married, I get married because whatever. I'm not because of what some cards say, or because some astrologer says we're compatible.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I mean, how many relationships are ruined, or how many bad decisions are made because of that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All the time.
It's not about that at all. No.
So again, like the feet are your found. The feet are.
I mean, after all, you know, we're all individual in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with working with whether it's symbols or whether it's a normal sort of book. A person's spiritual life, you're figuring out how to express that outside the thing. Yourself. Like as I said, one of the things that happened, one of the things that happened with Muhammad and the people after him, people didn't know. People were like, they had houses, they acquired houses, and they didn't want to use their houses because they weren't North African style houses. They were Asian style houses. So they didn't have the reference to using that house. It's like, so they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know what to do with rice because they didn't have rice. And it's like, they had the rules, they had ethics for dealing with trading grain and all sorts of stuff. But some people didn't know what to do until they froze themselves for enough years that they were like, okay, I'm wearing Persian clothes, and I'm wearing I'm living in a Persian house because there's snow here. There were people who were like that fanatical that they didn't know what to do with it, or they just couldn't. They weren't fanatical. It's just they couldn't think for themselves. So that's the thing.
I hope that opened their eyes to not be fanatical anymore.
Well, that's again in other paths like Christianity, most paths. The temple, it's like you can't pray unless you set up a temple. It's like how many New Agers, if they don't set up their group of stones and all that stuff, then they can't perform the rituals.
That's a good one.
If you don't picture yourself in the right spiritual plane, as this thing would depict, and you don't picture the right guru, then you haven't established your inner temple correctly. But no, it's not about the temple. It's not about
temple. Yeah, exactly. Oh, fuck.
Either God wants obedience and wants a belief and a good action, and that's all that's cared about. But it's not about the form of the action itself. And it's certainly not about it's certainly not about some guy who either is going to die or is dead. It's all about them, and it's like if they taught something, they taught something, but their example, it's so much more than that.
This certainly expands my view on how to approach religion, or how it should be approached.
It's like Muhammad. I mean, this isn't really what it looked like. But since we have a cartoon, since I have a picture with a drawing that's supposed to be Muhammad in the middle of that might as well bring up that. South Park had a Muhammad cartoon episode, but they stopped showing that, and they desyndicated it because they told us, they told the Muslims around the world on the TV, if somebody makes a cartoon of Muhammad, they should be killed according to your law. And people were stupid enough to believe that. People were stupid enough to believe it in large amount. Now the vast majority of people weren't, but you get a couple thousand people, you get a handful of people in every country to believe that garbage because it was put on the news and willing to do it.
Oh my God!
It kind of poisons the thing for the 99% of the people that aren't falling for that. But one of the things is like you find you go to almost every masjid, and they'll have significantly sized hadith collections, and some of those things are like pages and pages, even hundreds of narrations in a chapter. What Muhammad ate, how he walked around rooms.
What
did he like this clothes more than this clothes? They ignore. It's like he'll teach like they'll present like 3 teachings. There'll be like 3 teachings among 300 things. Most of it isn't like that, but if you look through those books in full, you'll find that.
Wow.
And so unlike the Christians that were like, oh, well, Jesus died for my sins, it's all about Jesus, or some Jews who act like they vicariously live through others, whether it's a rabbi or they're vicariously claiming, oh, how good we think the Israelites were back during the times of their, the ones that didn't kill their prophets, they're the ones we should follow. Instead of vicariously living through others, but the idea is, it's a different sort of fanaticism where this like, Muhammad liked milk and barley, so we have milk and barley for breakfast. It's like you can have a variety of grain. Thank you very much. There's principles, but there's some pretty interesting stuff that was forgotten because people would. It's like he gave whole lectures about the end times and all sorts of interesting stuff, but people forgot that. And one of the guys that could have that could have told that in the Sunni tradition, that could have passed on like 100 different stories of what Muhammad had going to the bathroom. And no wonder why he had to tell people, if you catch a peeping Tom and you hurt the peeping Tom, that's their fault. No blame on you if you hurt the peeping Tom. So I totally agree with that, but the fact of the matter is that people focused on, like going up the groin and the heart, 3 and 5 leading from the top for this exquisite corpse thing is you authentically have your own desires, your own impulses, and 5 is it's about your own emotions.
It is. Wow.
And in between, of course, you're being centered.
It always goes back to that. You said it's your own emotions. These hypocrites don't realize that, because even fanaticism is really emotions in the end.
Well, it's the same emotional ignorance, but it's from a different
emotional ignorance. Yeah, that's a good word.
And
interesting.
But you got but whatever these things are, it's supposed to be it's supposed to be taken elsewhere. Like I don't know how when I'm switching about the angles, kind of let's see. Notice when I have these, I don't usually do this, but some things I do. I will fill in with my own extra notes things. So I have a book of symbolism of plants and that sort of stuff. And what I like to do, if I use a plant a lot, I will try to figure out my own. I will try to figure out other symbolism you can attach to that.
Oh, you do?
It's like with what?
Oh, okay, I got you. You try to find other symbolism of the plant,
so on one hand, it means that if you run out of one thing for what, it's like you got stuff for pretty much everything you're going to do symbolically at any time anyway. And I'm not going to be like, oh no, I don't have the right rock, or I don't have the right herb or something, so I can't perform. That's one of the things that people, when a person does grimoire magic, one of the things that a person does is you do find stuff and you do go off and do stuff. But the thing is, when you're doing that, it's part of the operation. That's one of the big secrets. It's part of the operation. You're not just wandering about and for I can't it's not armchair study forever. It's supposed to be it's part of the stimulus. So when you get up to it, it's like if a person can't get this stuff to work.
There are some people who want it to not be part of the stimulus, who want to be given the answer, so they don't have to. Oh yeah, I'm guilty of that.
but when you do that, when it's like this graphic here represents. This is I'm probably going to turn this into 8 seasonals.
Wow. Shit.
I'm going to take each one of these books and do a different season.
Yeah.
Like the one in the middle is going to be the next one, and midwinter, and the start of the dark quarter, the one below that, and the one in the upper left corner. That's obviously going to be a winter one too.
Okay. Yeah.
And you know, a darkening time of year in the upper left, and maybe the I haven't quite decided how the other ones are going to be. Maybe the one in the lower left is going to be a spring equinox, and
Wow.
The one you know, so I have a series to do, but
you do.
Wait, the berry harvest and stuff like that, maybe that should be the one in the bottom middle, and the other, and the next equinox is going to be the one at the top middle, and the fall equinox would be the one in the upper right, and the bottom one is going to be the start of what. So that's my order so far. I'm flexible with myself.
Interesting order you have there. Yeah.
But you know, it's a study, it's practice along the sides, and no, like no, it's like S. Ben Kane. You probably know who that is. He basically wrote a book, and if you bought his book, you're still going to have to spend probably hundreds of dollars more to get the right set of stones to do your thing, and as much as it's you know,
it's all in for the money. He doesn't care about the people he's helping, obviously.
He's actually been known for some stuff.
Yeah, I know.
So you know, in that regards, but
then he complains too that, oh, nobody's buying my books, and then he gets angry. And why is he getting angry?
If you didn't, if you messed up a couple orders here and there, and people don't think you're doing the rituals that they're doing for it's like, well, that kind of carries itself on a bit. So so but the thing is, it's like, you know, when you're studying and all this sort of stuff, it gets you in the thing. Now I'm not saying like one of the things we chatted privately about is the ordeals of the order of the 9 angles, you know. You know, the stuff like I'm not going to eat anything except meat and dairy, not even for months, and probably kill myself in the process if I don't want, you know. Really, it does. After it's not too long before your body starts to eat. You think you're gonna get fat. No, your body's like, I'm not getting stuff, and starts to eat away yourself for whatever nutrients you're not getting by just eating meat and milk. And you might get arthritis even if you don't, because too much meat and milk and trying to live off of that. It's just we're not really designed to do that. Look at our teeth and our gut.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are trying to live out by yourself in the woods for 3 weeks.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Or beating yourself, you know, beating yourself as about as strongly as you can beat yourself every day.
I mean, try to, you know, it's so hypocritical. You know, the people who like beat themselves to show, oh, it's all about strength. Look at how strong I am. I don't feel pain. Yeah, okay. Why don't you cut your leg off then? Or you can go as far as possible with that shit.
And victimizing yourself, victimizing oneself, and this nonsense about human sacrifice. Yes, we have an opportunity to shed blood, involve it in your spiritual path, but none of this nonsense, that it's like you can't have a Nexium unless you get a 22-year-old. Guess what the 22 and 17 is? Guess what that relates to?
No,
guess who symbolically conveys that same thing?
Let's see.
Symbolically, but using a different alphabet. So in 17, just like the Zoroastrians, the real Zoroastrians, Zoroastrians, they also have a 17-part 5 times a day prayer way of saying. So do the Muslims. So that 17, instead of every 17 years, every day you're fully involving yourself in the spiritual that's what it's really about. So instead of having very short rituals where for a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, you're talking about killing people every once in a while to maintain your temple as it should be, and involving people in it, which is involving a group of people which is a real good way to get caught with that sort of thing. But so the 22-year-old is the alphabet. So the Hebrew alphabet is 22 letters. And so by using the 22,
that's what I was thinking about.
That's what that's about. In Arabic, you're using a different number. It's closer to what Arabic fits closer to the pre-Jewish symbolism. Arabic fits in closer to that because it uses the same about number of sounds. 30 sounds.
Wow, interesting.
A glottal stop and 30 other sounds. So when you use this alphabet, it's you're referring to saints. I mean, why did the Jews kick out the corners of the cube of space? If you're going to talk about space in these directions, the zodiac in terms of the side, the edges of the cube. But what about the points of the cube? You got the faces of the cube. You got the directions going out from the cube. You got the center, something in the center. But what about? And they don't really have a second centers thing. So there's a second center thing. So there's multiple things going on in the presence of the center, but they leave out the corners. So the Chinese have those. Chinese symbolism tends around it's like the Chinese alphabet used to focus around 8 symbols, and a lot of the ancient Chinese writing. So the Tao Te Ching and those. I don't have a good graphic for that here. In that upper left corner, is it seen? No, I think it's. I think it's seen. There's that thing in the corner. There's a thing in the corner. I think it's cut off. There's a thing in the corner. That's the. But anyways, that's based around 8. So there's 8 combinations, and they combined it. So every 2 lines, there's 8 ways. There's different ways to do that, and they combine form a 6. So they form a hexagram, and but there's 8. So it's like the Jews left 8 off their space and said, "Hey, here, Chinese people, you can use this."
What? Shit, crazy.
I don't know if there's truth to that, but that's in a way that's symbolic that it happened. They left something to the Chinese, and well, I mean, they didn't. They left the 8 points off. So the points of the cube are left off the sequence, which I don't know what that was about. So I'm gonna about leave you today. If you have any final sentences.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly interesting. Maybe you can mention what cards again we were mentioning in this second episode of the tarot.
Okay, 5 of staves, the moon reversed. So upside down. By reversed, I mean upside down. 11 strength reversed. And we're I can't. I have multiple things open, so I'm not. Let me close the one window. Okay, so Knight of Coins reversed, then Ace of Cups reversed, and then 8 Justice reversed, and I mean, I don't have to include the number when I do this, but I include the number to make it clear. 11 Strength reversed, 18 the Moon reversed, and 5 of Staves. So for 11 and for 10 and 11, that's you know, that's where we are.
Okay,
but yeah, all these things. I mean, I shared my poem, and it's you know, and that's what a lot of these readers would do, is they'd say something and they wait for the other person to say something. They probably take a bit more charge of it or whatnot. But that's you know, it's to get the other people responding too.
Sure.
It's you know, I do have videos where it's just me saying the poem but it's more than just poetry corner, you know. Because whether random poems or otherwise, people have said, oh, why don't you just you know, why don't you go to the coffee house and be one of the people reciting the poetry. People like this. It's like, well, yeah, yes and no.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I do stuff to entertain, but I don't do it to entertain. You know what I mean?
Oh, you do things to entertain, but you don't do them to entertain. Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Entertainment's not the point.
Yeah.
You know, I've obviously,
I got
you know, I sold a couple CDs that definitely did not. I mean, literally a couple CDs. I didn't sell.
I think Arnaldo does that as well with his music, perhaps.
Oh,
he entertains, but he doesn't entertain.
And so,
yeah,
I want to.
yeah.